What is going on, y'all? Gamers going here today with another mock draft video. I actually did record a video yesterday, but I I went and had lunch, did that, came back, and the Pacers traded the pick. So now we're back here today, refilming and accounting for that, because you already had the Desmond Bane one where literally while we were filming, Desmond Bane got traded. I want to try to give you the most accurate mock draft I can give you. Trades are going to happen. They're going to happen quick, fast. It's that time of the year. It's that time of the year draft picks will be moved. It's that time of the year players are going to be shipped out. It's just the name of the game at this point. And as you can see, we actually do have the ESPN rankings here, which I am excited about because it's a little more updated. Sorry, I got like sleep on my eye. But it's pretty easy here. It's pretty easy here at the top of the draft. There's been some rumors about the top two picks, about potential trades and stuff. I don't buy none of it. Cooper Flagg is the pick for the Mavericks. He's a guy that's going to pair well with Anthony Davis, Kyrie once he gets healthy, and this is a team right here in the Mavericks that will compete for the playoffs and potentially a conference finals run in their first year. Cooper Flagg is a player ready to contribute right away. He's a guy that has already played with a lot of NBA talent on Team USA. He's a guy I have no concerns about in terms of being ready. It's just a matter not if he's healthy. Can he become that number one option when the Anthony Davis is off the court? The answers to those questions are, for the most part, yeah, we think he can. So, Cooper Flagg, pretty safe pick here at number one. And then number two, there might be a little bit more hesitancy because you have De'Aaron Fox, because you have Stephon Castle, but ultimately the guy that is easily the second best player in this class, I think, potential to have a better long-term career than Cooper Flagg because he is set up in a situation where there's some potential long-term success and they might be able to win a championship or two, and at the end of the day, that's what matters the most. Might be able to have Cooper Flagg's number in terms of winning championships, but Dylan Harper, really good player there out of Rutgers. He's actually the Ron Harper brother's younger brother. Ron Harper's kid right here. But yeah, Dylan Harper is going to be one of those guys that in this team, it's going to be interesting to see if they run all three guards at once. Somebody would have to play kind of that small forward role. And I'll be interested to see who that's going to be. But yeah, Dylan Harper, really good player. At this point, you just draft the best player. If you are the Spurs, you'll figure out the De'Aaron Fox situation. Do you trade him? Maybe future down the line gives you a little bit more flexibility to trade him. So Dylan Harper is off the board. And then we get here to the 76ers. I've had, in the video yesterday that I filmed, I had the Bulls trade up here. Or not to the next pick, because there's been some rumors that the Bulls would be interested in Ace Bailey if he were to pass 3. And I do think there will be some movement inside the top 10. But it's starting to sound like Ace Bailey might slide a little bit further. Not working out with teams. Teams has some questions. I really like the player in Ace Bailey, but apparently his draft process is not going too hot. It ain't Shedeur 2.0 right here. I know some people be like, well, that's like Shedeur not working out and just kind of slacking in the team interview process, and teams are kind of souring on him. Ace Bailey, at the end of the day, is a great prospect. Ace Bailey, at the end of the day, will not go much further. If he makes it to the late lotto, it'd be a miracle. It's just too good of a prospect to make it out of the first 10 or so picks. So I know there's some buzz about Ace Bailey sliding. His slide is not gonna be that big. It'll be a little bit of a slide for him and kind of where he thinks. He thinks he's a top 3 player. It's came out and said he thinks he's a top 3 player in this class, and he's not really going to interview with teams that are outside that range. At the end of the day, somebody outside that range will draft him. I don't think the 76ers will. I think that will rub them the wrong way. They already have a guy in Joel Embiid. They have a guy in Tyrese Maxey. Ace Bailey wants to go to a team and be that guy. I don't see it being this team right here. That means this really came down to VJ Edgecombe, who is, in my opinion, the best well-rounded prospect in this class, and then Trey Johnson, who has great offensive upside, but the problem is the defense at this point is more theoretical. You look at defense, a lot of people think he can be a good defender, really long wingspan, 6'6". The defense is going to have to be a learned trait at this level, but I look at this team and you got some solid players here defensively. Paul George, I know he's up there in age, but he's a good defender. Tyrese Maxey's a willing defender. Jared Butler's pretty solid. Joel Embiid is Joel Embiid at the end of the day. I'm going to give it to VJ. Because I think there's a lot of potential that he comes in and is their best perimeter defender day one. Trey Johnson, a little bit more of a guessing game on his defense. But I'm going to give the edge to VJ Edgecombe here and have VJ Edgecombe go number 3. So this is another team right here in the Hornets that you'd think, hey, big Ace Bailey spot. You have LaMelo Ball, and that's pretty much it. Miles Bridges, Brandon Miller, they're all right. But they're not big-time scorers. You could still use a big-time scorer, use that face of the franchise guy. You have LaMelo Ball, but he's always hurt. There's some potential there for Ace Bailey. The problem here with me with Ace Bailey is sending him to a team like the Hornets. I don't know if that's where you're going to get his mind fully in the game. I think if he's already struggling to go to workouts with teams that he just doesn't really want to go to, he wants to be a guy for them. I don't think this Hornets team is that. They have a guy in LaMelo Ball. Miles Bridges and Brandon Miller have been really solid for him. They're going to take shots away from him. But not only that, the market, I just don't see Ace Bailey being super willing to go there. I think that if you are the Hornets, you have some questions on kind of how Ace Bailey has gone about this process. So this, to me, is a little bit safer in Trey Johnson, where we're getting the same offensive upside as an Ace Bailey, and some really good length defensively. But I think Ace Bailey is one of those prospects that he's going to slide because Trey Johnson's such a great offensive player. Trey Johnson's somebody that, like, once you get past Trey here at 4, I think that there's an argument that Ace Bailey is unquestionably the best offensive player left on the board. The problem is, I don't think he has enough of an edge on Trey Johnson to justify, hey, if we have some red flags coming up about Ace Bailey, we're gonna draft him. I don't think you'll see that if those red flags are actually true. The Jazz, another team here. They would be in heaven if Ace Bailey was on the board. Keontae George, Ace Bailey. Your shooting guards will be a little bit of a question. John Collins, Larry Markkinen, Walker Kessler, Filipowski. Need more of a shooting guard, but at this point, best player available is Ace Bailey. This one's tough. Because I think it should be Ace. At this point. Do you see a team like the Jazz trade down? Probably. I don't know if they would. We'll have the Jazz be the team here to select Ace Bailey on his slide. Didn't slide too far. There's some people that think he'll go 6, 7, 8 now. There were some people, I don't know if they were seriously talking about it, but they're like, oh, they're going to potentially be there at 12 for the Bulls. If the Bulls want Ace Bailey, they are going to have to move up. And I'm a Bulls fan. I got to be real with you. They're going to have to move up. To me, I don't really care about, oh, I think I'm a top 3 player. I don't think I need to go there. I don't care about any of that. At the end of the day, get him onto the team. It's a good player. It's a good player. But I mean, if I'm those teams, yeah, there's some red flags. But if I'm not even in that realm of really considering Ace Bailey as an option, for example, like we're sitting at 12 for the Bulls, I'm not taking offense to it. He didn't shut me down. He shot down the 76ers. He shot down the teams in front of us. He didn't shoot down me. So Ace Bailey, I think here at 5 is kind of as far as you will see him go. Some people think he'll be more. I don't know. We'll see. The Wizards now up. And the Wizards have been one that I've kind of gone back and forth for. Shout out to the guy that left me a comment mentioning, hey, Malawach and Sarr could be a really good duo. I could see that being a good duo because it seems like Sarr could move to that power forward position. But here, this guard situation is a lot of mid. You do have Bub Carrington, who is a long-term option there. I think here, you kind of, Jordan Poole could be on the move as well. I go get a guy here in Jeremiah Fears that can be a good playmaker at the next level, but also a guy that is a fearless scorer, has had that chance of putting Oklahoma on his back and really carrying his team forward. This is a guy right here that I have absolutely zero hesitation if I'm drafting, because I have seen this guy just constantly be called upon, and the dog that he is, he's relentless the way he plays the point guard position. He's a player that I absolutely love, and a guy that I really wish would have came to Illinois, but he didn't. Ended up kind of transferring out before he ever even got there, if that makes sense. Was committed, decommitted, and that was because Kaspersky Kashonis was there. That was because Will Riley was there. There's just too many guys there for Jeremiah Fears to really get a good look. So, Jeremiah Fears, though, really good player. Really good player. Love the way he plays. Then we go to the Pelicans. The Pelicans have been a rumored Con Knipple area. They have been a rumored guard area as well. I look at this team. I see Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. Both those guys could be on the trade block. Who knows? I'm going to work out the assumption that they do trade Trey Murphy, and if that's the case, that opens a spot up for a guy like Con Knipple. Con Knipple has kind of been a guy that I've had a little bit difficulty placing because he fits on so many teams, and really where does it become just too good a value to pass on a guy that I think has a wide range of outcomes in this class, simply because he's a really well-rounded player, but you don't look at Con Knipple and think, hey, this guy can turn into a superstar. You don't. I look at this guy, and I look at a guy that could easily be the number 2 option for a team for a very long time. And if you are lucky enough that Zion comes out of his off-season off-the-court issues and is able to play, Con Knipple is a very good option here because you sit on the wing, hit threes, be a good defender, do a little bit of everything. Con Knipple's a guy I really like and would hope the Bulls could get, but I just don't see a world where he'd be sitting there at 12, even though I could see maybe some teams passing on him. I don't know if he'll be there at 12. The Brooklyn Nets now up. The Brooklyn Nets here have a couple options. Kamal Malawach on the board, Noah Sangay, Kaspersky Kashonis, Yegor Dimon. Here, to me, I look at what could I get with these next picks at 19, 26, and 27. I don't plan on keeping all of them, spoiler alert. We're going to try to move on from Cam Johnson in this draft. Point guard, we don't love. Shooting guard, we have Cam Thomas, who we really like. Here, I think we go Carter Bryant or Noah Sangay, because I'm looking at the guards later on. Even if I can trade up with 19, 26 or something of that package, I can go get a Jace Richards, maybe Kaspersky Kashonis if I'm lucky. Nolan Traore. I look at the shooting guards. Yegor Dimon would be a guy I'd be trading up for. Cedric Coward, Walter Clayton. There's just a lot of guard prospects, and then when I look at these wing prospects, I don't really want to Liam McNeely. Will Riley is, I think somebody that needs to really fill out his frame, and you're just going to need the right team to really get the best out of him. Neek Clifford's a great option. The problem is, don't think this team's competing. I think he goes more so on those lines. Drake Powell we might be looking at later, but really, you have a limited window here with the really extremely high upside wings here. Noah Senge, Carter Bryant. I like Carter Bryant a little bit more. I like him a little bit more. And I know throughout this process I haven't been super high on Carter Bryant, but I am coming around. I didn't like the 6.5 points a game in college, but you look at a really good defender, a guy that really seems to want it, and then a guy that really wasn't given too much of an opportunity to score at the college level. On a team like the Nets that just have Cam Thomas, especially if we do trade Cam Johnson in this mock draft, Carter Bryant's going to be able to get that number up. He could be one of those guys that not scored too much in college, but gets on the right team, becomes a worthy NBA scorer. We get to the Raptors. The Raptors have the easiest decision in the draft. They got to pick a big man. The between the big men is a little bit hard, but they know what position they need to go. I'm not sold on Poeltl long term. I'm not even sure if he's really re-signed. How long is Poeltl on this team? Okay, they have some years with Poeltl. But you ultimately you still want to find that guy. So to me, it's pretty simple. Yeah, Poeltl's a good defender. Derek Queen, really good offensive player. I don't see Poeltl in a super long-term plan. So also another guy that could be traded. Kaman Malawach, though, is a guy that I really like defensively. A guy that has a developing offensive game, and I don't think it's as developing as some of these other guys because it's developing because he hasn't been playing basketball super long. He's been like 4 or 5 years playing basketball. The jump shot's coming along pretty well. The defense is already there. He does so many things right that you can't teach on the defensive side. And then he's really working and developing that offensive game. I think here you already have a Scotty Barnes. You have Brandon Ingram, Emmanuel Quickley. You don't need the offensive upside immediately. You have time to develop them. Kaman Malawach, to me, is a really safe bet for a team here in the Raptors that does usually a pretty good job at getting the best out of their players. Kaman Malawach is my guy there. We get to the Rockets, and the Rockets here, potential trade down team, and I think I am actually going to do it. And we are going to be moving the Rockets pick here to the Nets. Yeah, we're going to move it to the Nets. We're going to give up pick 19. We're going to give up Cam Johnson. We're going to acquire pick 10. And trade that through. Cam Johnson is in this deal. And the Nets are trading back up because they got their Carter Bryant pickup. Now they want their true point guard. They're taking Kasparas Yakashonis. I don't think they lean Yegor Dimon over Kasparas Yakashonis. Yakashonis, in my opinion, is a little bit better the offensive player at the moment. Both really good playmakers, but there is some red flags for both of them. Kasparas Yakashonis at times falls in love with the three-pointer. At times, Yegor Dimon got played off the court because his offensive game, his three-point shooting wasn't that great. Kasparas Yakashonis, though, really great playmaker. True point guard. Don't think you run as shooting guard. There might be some flexibility, though, because he has shown a three-pointer in his college career. So we'll see which way they prefer, but I do think you see the Nets try to get one or both of one of those high upside wing prospects and a guard early on if they can package a deal with Cam Johnson. Then we get to the Trailblazers. Carter Bryant off the board, kind of a popular pick for them. Don't really see center as a huge need because we do have Klingon, Ayton, Duop Reith, Rob Williams. We really like this team. Just looks perfect right now. They were doing really well to end the year. I'd argue maybe a point guard here to either push Scoot Henderson to get to where he can be, or to just take that starting spot and leave Scoot where he is right now as that sixth man. Scoot hasn't been as great as you'd hoped, but this team has really came along really well. And I think you could take a little bit of a gamble here at like a Noah Senge and really This team was a team last year that was competing for a playoff spot, believe it or not. Really young team. You could take a swing and really see, hey, we think next year, maybe a year down, another year down the line, we'll be a playoff team. We take the big swing on Noah Senge. If it hits, now we're not talking about just like a 6 seed playoff team. We're talking about a 5-10 year playoff team where we're a top 3, top 4 seed. Could hit with Noah Senge, but I think you here take Yegor Dimon because you want to push Scoot a little bit. The guard options at the true point guard position, I know it says shooting guard, the guards at the true point guard position on this team is just Scoot, really. Anthony Simons will play it, Shaedon Sharpe will play it at times, but I think here Dimon adds a little bit of a consistent presence. You want a big-time playmaker at the position. I don't think he's a guy that's going to need to score very much here. A lot of comparison to Josh Giddey in his game. I think you could see early on Yegor Dimon kind of just fall into go out there, make plays, passing the ball, and we'll get you your shots later down the line. But right now, we're going to have to work with you on your jump shot. We're going to have to work with you at your aggression going to the rim. I think really you're looking at a guy here in Yegor Dimon that will be given freedom here on this Blazers team. Throw a lob to Shaedon Sharpe. Go get the ball to Jeremy Grant. Just keep it simple for him and don't ask him to do anything too extraordinary offensively just yet. Okay, the Bulls board has fallen to this. Out of these guys, I know the Bulls brought in Asa Newell, would be a really good pickup here. I think you could see the Bulls consider Noah Asenge. I would be interested in seeing Sorber. I don't think they would. I think really it comes down to Asa Newell and Noah Asenge. There's some question on whether or not Asa Newell can even run the center position. We would be kind of drafting him to do so. Noah Asenge might not be. Might be kind of leaving in that small forward position. Asa Newell, though, is a guy I really like out of Georgia last year. Complete lob threat. Shot the ball pretty well in his workouts with teams is what I'm hearing. A guy that I already know the Bulls have shown interest in. They've brought him in. He's one of 2 players. Him and Drake Powell are the only 2 that we know about that have really came in and worked out with the Bulls. It sounded like it went well. There might be some question on whether or not Asa Newell will be able to play center, but I think that is a question you are willing to gamble on because the player has shown the ability to shoot the ball. A lot of good defensive upside is what you saw at Georgia. Will be a shot blocker at the next level. Even if all he turns out to be is a power forward, I think you get a really good player. Now you might have questions about like what's the fit next to Modest. Modest has already been rumored to kind of could be moving to the 3 at the small forward position. The shot will need to come with Modest, but if you have another guy here in Asa Newell that is developing a good jump shot, could make it a little bit easier if you have a couple more versatile guys. I'm taking Asa Newell. I'm taking Asa Newell. I'm really starting to like Asa Newell and what he could bring to the Bulls. We get to the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks. This is another team right here that I think guard with Trae Young, Dyson Daniels. There could be another guard here in this class I'd be willing to take. Not at this spot, though. Not at this spot. I look at this team. Onyeka Okongwu, yeah, we have him. I don't know if I want to do the Sorber fit. The Sorber fit just feels too good to be true, right? Is there anybody here? I think the only other thing that I can give you, other than Sorber, would be Noah Asenge. Somebody's going to take a swing on Noah Asenge. Jalen Johnson, Zachary Ricochet here. I don't think this is the team. I'm going to go Thomas Sorber, get a true backup big for the long-term future. Could eventually take over if they ever decide to get rid of Onyeka Okongwu. Thomas Sorber, good defensive prospect, a good offensive player as well. Not somebody that I think will be scoring nearly as much, but another guy, versatile big man that can pop out and hit a jumper. We get to the Spurs. Spurs have the safe Dylan Harper pick. This doesn't feel right, man. This doesn't feel right. Noah Senge, take your big swing. Somebody's going to take the high upside swing in Noah Senge. I don't know that the player that he is right now is a player that's going to get on the court for the Spurs next year. But if you're looking 2 or 3 years down the line, and if it hits, Noah Senge, Victor Wembanyama, Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox. That's a nasty team long term and a young team long term. Noah Senge here to the Spurs. We get to the Thunder. The Thunder are a team. I'm going to be talking about this a lot when I do these mock drafts. The Thunder are a team that needs guys to come in and do specific things, right? Because you have the Shays, you have J-Dub and Jalen Williams. You got Chet. You're not looking for a star. You're looking for guys that come in and play their role and play it really well. That is how CMB gets drafted. Guys like CMB, really good players, can defend his tail off, the best defender in this class. Not a great offensive game. I know 16 points is there. His offensive game was more so just, hey, you're our guy, go get buckets. Go out physical people, go get buckets. The ball's not going to be in his hands as much in the next level. And then you also look at, hey, power forward, not really much of a shooter at this point in his career. Teams are going to pass on CMB, unfortunately. I really like CMB. I would have loved for the Bulls to got him simply because I want one of those really defensive dogs. But the more you look at it, the jump shot's not there yet. Probably a little bit going to slide. CMB not going to be asked to do anything on this OKC team early on that is out of his comfort zone. He's going to go in there, he's going to defend his tail off, and he's going to be a dog on defense because that's who he is. That's his calling card. And these teams that are playoff teams and teams really fighting for championships, they don't really have too many spots on their team open up for guys that are going to be high potential, like we need to get them shots. They have spots right now for high quality role players, and CMB is that at this point. This is another one. I talked about it yesterday. You guys didn't see me talk about it, unfortunately, but I have a lot of interest talking about this simply because I've been going to talk about the Grizzlies in this draft process. Desmond Bane off this team, so shooting guard wise, Jalen Wells, somebody I like, but probably an option to go guard. You look at the small forwards, not very good. I love their power forwards. G.G. Jackson, Santi Aldama, Brandon Clark. Big man, obviously they drafted Edey. They have Jaren Jackson who play a little bit of the 4. To me, I'm looking at a wing here. And I don't know how to justify passing on Nate Clifford. We gave up Desmond Bane, one of those really high quality, in my opinion, role players. There might be some all-star potential to be tapped into if he is the guy for the Magic, but Nate Clifford to me is a guy that can fill the Desmond Bane shoes. You look at a guy that can be a good shooter. You look at a guy that is really good defensively. You look at a guy that's well-rounded, gets rebounds, gets assists, will score. Nate Clifford's that guy. A lot of Josh Hart to his game. I think if you are a team here that is still trying to compete, and that's the key of this trade, or of this pick, if they are trying to compete with this roster, because they did bring back Cole Anthony and they did bring back KCP, if this is a team that actually wants to compete rather than blow it all up, Nate Clifford would be a great pick. I'm going to work off the assumption that they are a team that still wants to fight for the playoffs. They're not going to trade Ja. They're not going to trade Double J, or Triple J, I guess, Jaren Jackson Jr. They're not going to trade those guys. We get to the Timberwolves. I think they were a sneaky Nate Clifford team as well. But guess what? This gives us freedom here. Naz Reid, somebody that's coming up. Julius Randle coming up as well. I imagine you got to pick between the one of them. Rudy Gobert, really good defensive big man. Here's the thing. If you lose Naz Reid, you're losing offense. Guess what? In this situation, we have a very good offensive big man that is slid. Derek Queen, a player that I think should be gone inside the top 10, but teams seem to have soured on him, and I can see him sliding a little bit. If he winds up on a team like the Timberwolves, that means 16 teams made a mistake before him. Just remember that. Just remember that. When you're watching Derek Queen in the playoffs next year have 15, 20-point games off the bench behind Rudy Gobert and stepping up into that Naz Reid role, just remember, teams passed on that guy. Really good offensive player. Really good offensive player. The Wizards now up. The Wizards, what do I think they're going to do? Because we have Sarr, who's a good defender, which kind of makes me want to go the big time. Because we lack playmaking on our team. We lack playmaking. Jeremiah Fears hopefully will help with some of that. I'm drafting Danny Wolf, man. Big man playmaker. We're going to shift Sarr over to the 4. I need a big man playmaker. Danny Wolf does that. He's got the experience playing with Vlad Golden. He's another guy here that can do a little bit of everything: rebound, pass, or rebound, assist, score. A guy that will be able to get you Alex Sarr touches. Played a really, really good season at Michigan. A little bit on the older side of prospects. The defense is a little bit of a question mark, but when you already have a guy like Sarr to kind of lock down the interior, you can take a little bit more of this offensive upside guy here in Danny Wolf. We get to the Rockets, who now have Cam Johnson. So they have Cam Johnson. They have a lot of versatile wings. On this team. I think you see them go guard. Fred VanVleet, not a long-term solution. Reed Sheppard, obviously somebody that has been really solid. Jace Richardson sitting there. It's got to be Jace. I was gonna say Nolan Traore, but Jace Richardson being there, a guy that I think will be one of those guys like a Reed Sheppard. Won't get too much time in his first year, but he's a guy that I think could develop into being something really good. You look at a player here that really didn't have much of a role to start the season at Michigan State, but kept working his tail off, gained the trust of Izzo, which isn't easy to do. Became probably one of their most electric scoring options, a solid defender. This is a guy that could play in the NBA day one. I think, however, on a team like the Rockets, they have time to develop him, not necessarily needing him to do so day one. That makes things interesting for the Heat, because the Heat, another very guard-needy team here. Guards here, not very good. Davion Mitchell, Terry Rozier, not to say they're bad, just not guys that I would want long-term. I love the wings. Jaime Jaquez, Haywood Highsmith, Wiggins is around, Kyle Anderson, the bigs, Nikola Jovic, Khalil Ware, Bam Adebayo. Not really looking at the big men either. Here, I think it's an easy Nolan Traore. I think it is. This is a guy that at one point was considered to be one of the top guard prospects in this class. Slid a little bit because he had a down year last year, but ultimately a guy that should be going in the first round pretty easily and safe. Very interesting prospect, because you look 2 years ago, this is a guy that might have heard his name in the top 10, but didn't shoot the ball particularly well last year. But this is a team here in the Heat that has a tendency to get the best out of people. So if you can really think that, hey, we can get the 2 years ago version of Nolan Traore, then guess what? You got a pretty good player. The Jazz. They went Ace Bailey. What do we have them doing now? What do we have the Jazz doing now? Ace Bailey. We don't need a big man. We got our wing in Ace Bailey. Can we double up on wings? Probably not. I'm going to look for a guard here. Oh, gosh. I already see what I'm probably going to do. Chances are I'm going to do it. Ooh, Cedric Coward's here. Cedric Coward's got to be the pick. He's got to be the pick. Potential lotto guy, sliding a little bit of age questions, a little bit of red flags about not playing. He didn't start at Washington State. He went there last year, had a really good year until he got hurt. He only played like 5 or 6 games at Washington State, but he was having a really good year up until that point. Good three-point shooter, good defender. A lot of people think he has very high upside, but here's the problem. It's a 22-year-old rookie. How much upside can you really tap into? I think here a team like the Jazz will give him the shots necessary to really see what he could become. Him, Ace Bailey, long-term future potentially there between those two. We get to the Atlanta Hawks now. Thomas Sorber was the pick, and I think here you could probably see them go a wing player here. Sorber, good defensive option. But here, I think I'm going to try to maybe find a high defensive guy. Rasheer Fleming, potentially. Do they double up on... This would be a cheat code, but Rasheer Fleming has some ability to play the three. Really good defender, can stretch the floor. Obviously, Rasheer Fleming and Sorber. There's no way they both go to the same team. You know what? I kind of love the idea though. I'm a sick person, but I love this idea. This is absolutely sick and not fair to the league. Fleming and Sorber. That is absolutely sick. That is sick and twisted if I've ever seen anything. The Pelicans now have this pick, which they have acquired from the Pacers. So they did the Conca-Nipple pickup. And now I got to figure out what else could this team need. I look at this team, a team that I think could use a guard. Will Riley, not that. Walter Clayton, on a team that's kind of competitive, has a CJ McCollum who's getting up there in age. I think they want to think that this is still a window to compete. Yeah, we'll go Walter Clayton. Here. Not a place that I thought he could go, but I think there's a guard need there, and I think that that's also another team that could look at, hey, we think we're a playoff contending team. Go get a guy right now in Walter Clayton that we know can lead a playoff contending team like he did in college. Not to say it will be the exact same result both times, but a guy right there that would be an extremely good pickup. We're back to the Thunder, man. The rich get richer. CMB, you're in there to defend. And guess what? We're drafting Liam McNeely to go in there, rebound, and hit open jumpers if Shea can get them to him. He's not going to be asked to do much offensively. I don't know if there's really much creativeness to his offensive game, but he's a guy here that won't really need that. Enter a team, just go be a quality role player, get 6-8 points a game, and go rebound the heck out of the ball. The Magic. Why did you move for Desmond Bane? Okay, so a team with Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane. Anthony Black, you'd figure, is their point guard, unless Suggs moves back to the point guard. I still think there's a guard need. I really do. But there's not really a guard here that makes too much sense. Will Riley's not a point guard. I think here you just look for kind of some reassurance in one of these two positions, small forward, power forward, maybe even big man. Big man sneaky. Is there a big man that would be worth taking here? Behringer, really good defensive prospect. A lot of questions offensively. You just traded for Desmond Bane, good defender. You have a lot of good defenders around him. Jonathan Isaac, Pablo Banchero. This would be an offensive upside pick. I'm going to go Maxime Reynaud. Really good offensive upside. Problem is, a little bit lesser of a defender than maybe Behringer projects to be, but it's a really good offensive player. Gives you some flexibility at the center position long term. Also, potential to move on from Goga Batadze, which has been rumored. We get to the Nets pick. I think they do stick and pick at one of these. I don't think both of these picks will be traded. I think they would prefer to pick here. Do I just give them Will Riley and finish the what's it called? The Illinois team? I think I'm leaning here to Drake Powell, though. Versatile wing defender. A lot of upside there. You look at a team here in Carter Bryant, upside pick. Asperis Shakashonas, upside pick. I think they stick with the upside here. Drake Powell to run the 3 long term. Carter Bryant to run the 4 long term. This pick will be getting traded. A team willing to move up. A team that would want to move up. Probably one of these second round teams. The Pistons, nah. Spurs. Because I'm looking at Will Riley being there and potentially being the guy people trade up for. The Timberwolves, we had them go Derek Queen. Hornets, we had them go VJ Edgecombe. No, they went Trey Johnson. VJ Edgecombe. I'm going to have the 76ers trade up. I'm going to have them trade up. A player will be exchanged, not sure which player. But if they're considering Ace Bailey, they're getting the budget version. But a guy that does a lot of similar things to Ace Bailey. Will take the difficult shots. Will want the ball in his hands. Will try to be that alpha in the room. But a guy that needs to put on more weight. A guy that just needs to... I think the game needs to slow down a little bit for him, because at times he'd get in a little bit too much of a rush to put up a shot. But if you liked Ace Bailey, I think you could reasonably make an argument that you would also like Will Riley. You also have Paul George here to help teach him. Paul George might not be on this team, but if he is, he's a guy that could help defensive upside for Will Riley. I think he is a guy that here in Will Riley that it's either going to be a really good pick or a guy that's just going to fizzle out in the league. But Will Riley here at this spot is a gamble I'm worth taking if you're the 76ers. Get to the Celtics. Ooh, the Celtics. What are they going to do? A little bit of a wild card. I think Kalkbrenner being there is interesting. Kristaps Porzingis potentially on the trade block. Cornette will get paid. Will he get paid by them? I don't know. Horford, old dude. They need a big man long term. We're going to try to find it here in Ryan Kalkbrenner. If you watched him at Creighton, though, he was kind of the center point of the offense. Won't be that on the Celtics, but a guy that I know when we get him the ball, he can go to work. He's a decent passer, a good and solid rebounder. A little bit on the thinner side of the big men, but you get him in the same program that Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown bulked up in. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Then we get here to the Suns. The Suns should be very upset. They should be very upset because the true point guard prospects are off the board, which means I'm pretty much just committed here to Ben Seraph. Ben Seraph, they've had some Tyreek Evans comparisons to his game. They had a Jarrett Culver comparison to his game, which you'd hope really just doesn't come to fruition because Jarrett Culver is, I believe, now playing in Japan. Didn't really work out in the NBA. But this is another guy here, Manu Ginobili comparison. Don't look at the Luka Tyrese comparison. That thing is completely whack. Yeah, but here, Manu, Culver, Tyreek Evans. It's a guy at this point. If you're looking just for a guy that can come in, run some guard for you, kind of be a versatile player, a little bit on the taller side for guards, Ben Seraph is the next best thing at the position at this point. And then we get to the Clippers. The Clippers are a dark horse. They certainly could go any way. They don't need big man. Power forward would be interesting. Guard, there's some need there long term. Not a guard here that I'm willing to take. I do like Tyrese Proctor, but probably a little bit too early. Chaz Lanier, probably a little bit too early. This is a team, though, that doesn't care if it's too early. Center, I think here I go find a power forward. I don't see it being an Adu Thero, but this is a team with Kobe Brown. Derrick Jones will play some power forward. Nico Batum will play some power forward. But they seem to draft like these college guys, the guys that's been in college for a while and just good players. Johnny Broom, you're a first-round pick. There's not a complete consensus whether or not he's going to be a first-round pick. There's a lot of question to whether or not that's actually going to happen for him. But when you got a team like the Clippers picking, definitely possible. So there's a quick recap of the draft. Take a screenshot of your team's picks if you must. But this is kind of what I am feeling at the moment. I think that you do see a Nets trade up for a guard. Could be Yegor Demon or Kasper Shakashonis. I think, though, the Grizzlies make things interesting, but I'm really hoping for more movement in this draft. The movement that we have seen is really interesting. This is not a pick that we thought would happen. For example, we didn't think this was going to be an option. So it makes things interesting when there's trades. I hope there's some more movement. Hopefully my Bulls move. Either grab another first round pick or trade up. But we'll see what happens on draft day. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.